Catus, Maximus here. This is just a quick video about this old school Armstrong Brothers. This happens to be an 18-inch pipe wrench. So this is one of the early vintage tools. This may be, excuse me, prior to World War II. Not a bad pipe wrench. Forged steel handle. I would assume this is carbon steel, and then an alloy steel lower jaw, and of course a rocking head. And how these work is, and the problem with this Armstrong, what I've noticed versus some other brands, is these teeth are a little shallow, and this actually hasn't been used that much. We can see the jaws and the teeth are actually in pretty decent shape, but it's really beat up the threads inside this collar, and this just does not adjust very well at all. And so fortunately, this is a very simple thing. Someday I'll meet a machinist or somebody who has a metal lathe who can make a new one of these. I usually don't keep a lot of tools that are, actually I don't keep hardly any tools that are kind of beat up like this. But since Armstrong had a long history, ended up being bought out by Gear Wrench a few decades ago, and then or Cooper Tools, and then has since been sunsetted or shut down, and it's really unfortunate. But you can always tell an Armstrong tool because their logo, an Arm & Hammer, is just like Arm & Hammer's baking soda logo, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, pipe wrenches work when you put them on the pipe and then you turn, the rocking jaw presses in harder the harder you, or the more force you put on the handle, thus moving the pipe. Anyway, just has a capture loop right there that's just been hard riveted in there, and of course the riveted lower jaw. Besides that, I'd say that some other brands, they made these teeth just a bit deeper and adjusted the angle of the Acme thread, so they just had a bit more bite. Because the way this nut is designed, it kind of gets, there's two little fangs that kind of stick out from this section right here that dive into the nut, so there's only threads about this far or about this long, and then just the forces that you put on this does pull this up, and you can see how the top of this is actually rounded out some of the, or mushroomed out a little bit of the upper body, and it just beat up the threads, and so it just does not, the nut just keeps on getting locked up, which is unfortunate because this is an old Armstrong Brothers, back when it was Armstrong Brothers, back when they had a patented design. So that's part of why I picked this up, is I've been trying to dig up, and I don't know if what is considered a modern style pipe wrench. I thought that Rigid Tools was who really invented the modern style pipe wrench, but perhaps Armstrong Brothers may have actually done it. I'm not entirely sure, because the pattern of this just seems like any modern style, usually they're aluminum handle pipe wrenches, and it's just kind of neat to see once again an old school tool from a company. This is one of the last of the Armstrongs. They stopped putting their little Arm & Hammer logo on it, and it was just Armstrong USA with that kind of interesting curved font. But it's just interesting to have a kind of a vintage tool and history, a piece of history from Armstrong Tools, considering that their name and they're no longer in business. And it's such a shame with this, because this nut is really the issue. As you can see, it's just totally locked up there for what otherwise has very low use, and so that would be kind of the Achilles heel once again. And maybe they could have made just a bit tighter of a fit, because this collar, as you can see, just wobbles around quite a bit. So anyway, that's all this was, just a short little video about a very old school and vintage Armstrong Tools pipe wrench that I believe, because of the way it is patented, is one of the earliest, and it could be the way this kind of fang design is, one of the earliest of what I would say is the modern style or modern pattern pipe wrenches that I've ever found. And versus all the old school ones I have dug up, I think this Armstrong is probably one that's worth getting a new part made for it. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.